Hey, good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, the 1st of December. The NAACP says that AG Daniel Cameron showed inappropriate bias towards police in the Breonna Taylor case. In other news, Nonpartisan reports warn of COVID-19 testing shortages in over half U.S. states and territories. Rapid tests are in short supply as the U.S. head into deeper winter months. And Florida's governor says schools will remain open in spring. Virtual learning options also remain. And Texas police pull over a car to find a dead girlfriend in the trunk. And a Virginia transgender woman who was always caring for others is fatally shot in the driver's seat of a car. And Biden and Harris announced an all-women's communications team, including Symone Sanders and Karine Jean-Pierre. Let's get to the news. Kentucky's Attorney General Daniel Cameron's presentation to the Breonna Taylor grand jury showed inappropriate bias in favor of police officers who fatally shot her, according to a report from the NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund. However, Cameron's office, the report contends, failed to present evidence that could have implicated officers, misled grand juries on the validity of the search warrant, and suppressed their ability to consider homicide charges. Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, had previously called for a new prosecutor to be appointed to review the case. She wrote in an application to the Kentucky Prosecutors Advisory Council that Cameron's handling of the case undermined the trust and integrity of the judicial process. The NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund support the call in their report, adding that new prosecutors should resubmit the case to a grand jury, allow it to pursue additional charges beyond the prosecutor's recommendations, and fully explain the principles of self-defense. The report's authors add that prosecutors ignored questions from the grand jury, including why the body cams weren't active, the number of interviews where officers couldn't describe what was going on, and why Walker was interviewed without being read his Miranda rights immediately, and if officers had triggered modifications to their weapons. Plus, they argued that Cameron's team drew their own conclusions that the officers' actions were justified in self-defense, rather than allow the grand jury to determine the legality of the officers' conduct. Alright, even digging further into this story of Breonna Taylor and the AG of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron, who happens to be, I guess, the grandson-in-law to Mitch McConnell, his cover-up of this whole story, actually relying on the one witness who said that the police officers announced themselves, despite the contrary statements from other witnesses who said they did not. Also, prosecutors explaining the lack of body cam footage because apparently their body cams were not on during the raid. They only came on after Breonna Taylor was lying dead in her hallway. Prosecutors also NAACP also wants prosecutors to talk about the irrelevant evidence that was his prior DUI and drug use. So there were a lot of things that was going on in this particular case that was either brought up to undermine Kenneth Walker, who was the boyfriend of Breonna Taylor, or basically cover up a lot of evidence that would have charged more officers with her murder. Yeah, so hopefully we will see if the NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund will actually get to push forth this call to actually have a new prosecutor investigate Breonna Taylor's case. This should be groundbreaking news and something that would definitely turn the tide, even though the family had been awarded a settlement due to the murder of Breonna Taylor. The medical devices used to process COVID-19 tests are in short supply as the U.S. head deeper into winter months, according to a survey of 47 states and territories conducted by the Nonpartisan Government Accountability Office. In their latest report on the CARES Act, the report also looks ahead to vaccine distribution and the administration's concerns. One third to one half of the states say that they are already experiencing shortages in either testing equipment or rapid tests in the last 30 days. Most states reported no shortages of swabs or transport media, but one third to one half of the 47 states reported shortages in other 3 types of testing supplies. The testing instruments in 16 states, the rapid point of care tests in 24 states, according to the report. Half of the states and territories that responded say that they have expected further shortages in rapid tests over the next 2 months, and nearly half say that they have expected to see a shortage in tests over the same period. The survey was conducted in October. The report also looks ahead to vaccine preparation across the country, finding that dozens of states feel unprepared to dole out a mass quantity in multiple rounds. In October's survey, 1/3 of the states were greatly or completely concerned about having significant supplies to administer vaccines, and another third say that they were moderately concerned. In an open-ended response, senior officials of 6 states say that they were concerned about needles. So just a little commentary on this particular story. So this nonpartisan report is basically saying in a nutshell that the U.S. is not prepared for the growth of this coronavirus, that there are rapid tests that are in short supply as well as other tests that are in short supply. And even if a vaccine was available, there is a shortage of needles even to give out vaccines. So as the winter months approach and we will be, indoors more, there may be a cause for a rise in coronavirus cases, just as they were this past holiday season due to Thanksgiving and people traveling, even when Dr. Fauci, the leading disease doctor, basically said it would not be a good idea, that we should just bunker down and stay put. But of course, people wanting to do their thing, thinking that they can still be safe and visit their families, and now the numbers have been spiking. However, I do believe that the numbers have always been rising, but because the president wanted to keep a hush on the numbers because he didn't want it to affect his election, they didn't talk about the numbers and the rise of the coronavirus, but the numbers have always been spiking, and now here we are. And once again, they are very high and out of control. We are now at 13 million people infected and fastly approaching almost 300,000 people dead. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis said on Monday that schools in Florida will remain open this spring, but parents will continue to have the option for virtual learning. DeSantis also went on to say that the state will continue to provide funding for districts for virtual learning. DeSantis said that the new order from the states requires that parents must be notified if student is struggling with virtual learning. The governor said that the move forward, that parents must be notified if their kids are struggling in virtual learning, and if they continue to struggle, that students must return to in-person learning, unless the parent opts out. DeSantis said that reasoning for this change is because virtual learning is not the same as in person. During a news conference on Monday, DeSantis called for the closure of schools during the coronavirus pandemic, probably the biggest public health blunder in modern American history. DeSantis went on to say that he will not impose further restrictions on businesses that could lead to layoffs or financial loss. And quickly, what more can I say about this idiot Ron DeSantis, who will do anything to stay in soon-to-be former President Donald Trump's good graces? So he decides to keep the schools open to the spring and also continue to keep virtual learning open. However, he did change his tune, because before, if in the state of Florida, if you continue to do virtual learning, he was not going to supply the schools with the funding that they needed if they were to continue virtual learning, opposing in person. However, he has changed his tune to now give funding to virtual learning as well as in person. Now, the problem is, they're claiming that a lot of students are having trouble with the virtual learning. And if in fact your child is having a problem with virtual learning, then they're making it basically close to a mandate that your child then has to do in-person learning, unless the parents oppose, that and still do virtual learning. But my point is, if the child is having a problem with virtual learning, instead of putting that child at risk with in-person, why not just do one-on-one virtual learning instead of, why not just do that? I don't know. Maybe, if anybody else has a suggestion, you can drop it in the comment section below. But I just think that just makes better sense. Why put a child at risk to in-person learning if they're having a problem with virtual learning, and just do virtual learning one-on-one instead of in a setting with 15 other students or how many ever other students there may be in a virtual window? Why not just do one-on-one? Breonna Johnson posted pictures on Facebook of herself and Victor Campbell Jr. with the captions "Date Night." Now she's dead and he's under arrest after Texas police found her body in the trunk of the car he was driving when he had pulled him over for speeding. Campbell, age 35, has now been charged with abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and driving while intoxicated, while investigators await autopsy results to determine the cause of death of Johnson. ABC 13 reports that authorities have security video that shows Campbell backing up Johnson's car to a Houston apartment and loading the 28-year-old Southern Texas University grad's body into the trunk early Saturday. All right, and in this particular case in Texas, how about getting pulled over for speeding and you're riding around with your dead girlfriend in the trunk of the car? This is particularly crazy, but again, unfortunate that someone had to lose their life due to some domestic violence, because I'm sure there probably have been some domestic kind of situation in the past that led up to this young man taking the life of his girlfriend, who happened to be a Southern Texas University graduate. It's so unfortunate, that people put their trust in men and some women in hopes that they will turn around and do better and actually do right by them, and unfortunately get let down and sometimes wind up losing their life in a story like this. It's so unfortunate. In the alleged shooting death of a transgender woman in Richmond, Virginia, has a family heartbroken and the police searching for answers. Chae'Meshia Simms died from an apparent gunshot wound and was pronounced dead at the scene after a call reporting that a car had crashed into an alleyway just before 6 a.m. on November 23rd. Police have not identified the motive or the official determination of Simms' cause and manner of death is pending the results of an autopsy. At least 39 transgender or gender non-conforming persons have died violently in the U.S. this year, according to the Human Rights Campaign. Richmond police asked anyone with information about Simms' death to call Major Crimes Detective M. Goodwin at 804-646-5533 or Crime Stoppers at 804-780-1000. As the death of more transgender women start to climb, it seems that it's a never-ending thing, and this is where we start to really question movements like Black Lives Matter, because if we're gonna say Black Lives Matter, we can't just only say Black Lives Matter when it comes to policing. Black lives should matter when it comes to things like this, and it should be getting the same outrage, the same protest. The fact that there have been so many killings of transgender people in these past year has been absolutely ridiculous. It's really unfortunate, and we really need to start paying close attention. At least 39 transgender or non-gender conforming persons have died in the U.S. this year. That's 39 too many. And once again, if anybody has any information, the Richmond police are asking for your help in the death of this young lady, and to please call Major Crime Detective M. Godwin at 804-646-5533 or Crime Stoppers at 804-780-1000. And be sure to join Jay Wilson, Rebel Son, The Official Campaign, Conscious TV, and Captivating Christian this and every Thursday at 6:45 Central Standard Time, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time for the Gentleman's Panel, where we are not afraid to go there and discuss an array of topics. See you there. Hey, this is Captivating Christian here to remind you to tune in to Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris has announced their all-female communications team on Sunday, including two who are familiar with the musical stylings and cultural relevance of salt and pepper. Symone Sanders, one of the most recognizable faces of the Biden campaign, will be a senior advisor and chief spokesperson for Harris. She will join former political analyst and senior advisor to Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre, who will serve as deputy press secretary, according to NBC News. Biden and Harris' team is looking for women to bring a diverse perspective to the White House. Biden finally received his first presidential briefing on Monday after the Trump administration finally released the block and agreed to allow the president-elect to receive the information. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.